You've been listening to the Edie Raether Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network. Better thinking leads to better decisions, and better decisions create better performance. That is the foundation of Edie Raether's groundbreaking Neuroshift's trademark approach. As a behavioral strategist, best-selling author, and expert in the neuroscience of success, Edie helps people interrupt automatic thinking, replace unproductive patterns, and become the boss of their brain. Her newest book, The 3-Second Neuroshift, reveals how a small shift in thought can create meaningful changes in leadership, performance, resilience, relationships, and life. Discover Edie's books, programs, and speaking resources at edierather.com. That's EDIERAETHER.com. You can also find the Edie Raether Radio Show on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other major podcast platforms. Now, back to the Edie Raether Radio Show. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to our Building Fortunes Radio, and this is the Edie Raether Radio Show. You can actually go to buildingfortunesradio.com/Edie to be able to have a shortcut to the other radio shows that we've done and the deep dive reviews that we've had as well. I met Edie, it might have been a year or two ago as a result of a speed networking event run by Manny Lopez. Manny's a good guy. I always like to give him a shout out. He's doing things to change the world, especially for women now, and especially for foster children that are exiting the foster care system, and that's another whole radio show. Well, I met Edie because she was doing some presenting there, and he always had her back to do some highlights, and it was really great, and I recognize that Edie has been around. She knows her stuff. She walks the walk and talks the talk, and you just can't fake that. And you can just tell by the sentences that she uses could really mean like a whole decade of experiences, and I love listening to her. I was doing something recently. Her name popped up. She had a book previously, something about cyberbullying. I said, I got to call Edie. I did. We started speaking, and that's how this radio show got started. Now, the timing was perfect because she's got a new book, and we're going to be talking about that new book. She's written several, but this is the one that you want to start off with if you don't know who Edie Raether is. It's called The 3-Second Neuroshift. Neuro, Neuro, shift, SHIFT, the 3-Second Neuroshift. And this, I'm going to say, the application of the knowledge inside the book that Edie gives you and the other stuff that you'll hear will help change the trajectory of your life in a positive way if you allow it to. So she's really good at what she does. I love listening to her. The deep dive reviews that we've done on the book and the radio shows have been absolutely fantastic as far as their reception from the people that have listened to them. And it is a privilege and always a pleasure to have Edie Raether here. And for those people, and I know I spell things because I need people to spell things for me when I'm listening to stuff, especially either on the radio or the internet where there might be some background noise. Edie is with one D, E-D-I-E, Raether, RAETHER.com. And if you put those both together, you throw a .com after that, you're going to get edierather.com, and you'll be able to go buy the book there. And I highly recommend it and absorb it and learn from this radio show as well as others that we'll do some of the power of that neuro shift in 3 seconds. So, Edie, thanks for being here on your own radio show.
Thank you, Peter, and hi to everyone out there. It's always a pleasure. I love sharing not only how people can change but transform, because in all honesty, Peter, I think there's a lot of misinformation, or maybe it's just outdated. It may not be wrong, but it's partial. You know what I mean? I do. You know, when I graduated from college, I knew I wanted to be successful, and I just wished that someone would show me how. The vehicle didn't matter. The vehicle that I got there didn't matter. Of course, it had to be ethical and honest and, moral and all those types of things. But I didn't care. And I just wanted someone to show me how. So when you talk about missing information or misinformation, I was searching for, come on, man, just I don't care who you are, total stranger, my best friend, a mentor, I don't care. I just want to know how to
do it. Show me. I'll provide the horsepower, the legwork. I know I'll go through the frustration, the learning curve, but at least give me the friggin' roadmap. So I love what you're doing because you give everything. You give the whole box. You're the Betty Crocker, the full ingredients in the box, not leaving some of the stuff out on your own.
I grew up with her.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
But, I was just thinking, one of my slides in my presentation is that, the brain is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. And I think that's why that particular program, which is about neuroshifts, is be the boss of your brain. And we just have to take charge because the brain it's like a pull toy. You know what I mean? It'll do. It's a good dog. It'll obey, but we have to give it. It's kind of like AI. We have to give it the right prompts, and that's where people are losing out. And it really comes down to, because you see, 95% of all our behaviors and actions and so forth are really driven by the subconscious mind. Now, that could be good or bad. I as a psychotherapist, I know I am a rare exception. My load of history and messages that I got from my parents and scripts and history, all of that stuff, it's pretty good. I honestly don't remember. I don't remember one negative thing my parents have said to me. I know one of them said, "You're such a Molly Putz," but they said it with a smile. It was never like condescending. And that's the only, but I know that is rare. I don't know if you want to say blessed, lucky, whatever. But for most people, having worked with thousands of clients as a therapist and coaching, whatever, is that most people have a lot of garbage down in their subconscious, whether it's, I mean, my parents never hit me. I never got, and I was basically good. I just sometimes marvel at how this all happened. And I know that there are some people that, I mean, even if they look the wrong way, they got a switch and told things like, "You'll never amount to anything." And then you start living with a script inside that says, "I'm not enough." And if you really believe you're not enough, you'll never be enough. And so there's just a matter of reprogramming the subconscious mind. I have been into that actually for over 60 years, Peter. I was into that when it was kind of called parapsychology. Now it's neuroscience. And, I was doing hypnosis for 50 years. And that was always, and it was actually approved by the American Medical Association. It got taken away because there was an abuse of it. There's no licensing for it. But in the right hands, it's powerful. In the hands of somebody like Hitler, it can put us into World War II. So the bottom line is it's like a good drug. A good drug can save your life, but if it's misused, an overdose, it can kill you. And so it's the same thing with dealing with our thoughts and how we manage them. And so it's really a matter, I mean, what I have done for over 50 years is really rewire people. And it's undoing and redoing. It's reprogramming them. It's getting rid of, it's kind of like a psychological exorcism, getting rid of the garbage in the subconscious mind, the thoughts, the beliefs, the scripts, the things that you were told that weren't true. And if we're angry with parents, teachers, whoever, that does no good. I always say anger is like acid. It hurts the container it's held in more than what it's thrown on. It's a matter of knowing that they did the best they could. And in many cases, it wasn't very good. I have been in custody cases. I've seen it all. Not good. But for you to hold on to it, it's like a glue. You're hanging on. You're magnetically holding on to a negative energy field, which is only going to make you go downstream. And it sustains a victim mentality. If you have a victim mentality and you use your past as an excuse to not thrive but just survive, that's a really dumb choice, you know. It's a really not good choice. And the whole book is that your next micro moment, may it be your best moment. Wasn't when you graduated, married, divorced. It is your next decision. And I'll just tell you, it's kind of funny, Peter. This all came about. I decided to do another TEDx talk. I've done a couple, and they're on the website. And so anyway, I decided to do it, and I thought 3-second neuroshift. I like that. It was just like intuitively, it felt like that's a good catch. And then the Raleigh chapter said, "Do you have any evidence?" And I said, "Well, yeah, 60 years experience." "No, we want research." And I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm a practitioner. I'm not a researcher. So I look it up. AI gave me, I think it's in the book. I think there's like 8 pages, Peter, of research that supports that in 3 seconds we can interrupt a negative thought pattern and change the trajectory of our life. And it's all 1.5 to 3 seconds. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? It's crazy.
It's great.
But you know what?
Great,
my first book's on intuition, and I'm fairly intuitive. What were you going to say, honey?
No, I said it's great, but it's crazy. It's great that you could do it in 3 seconds.
Yeah, it is. And that's from Stanford, Princeton, I think, is on there, Wake Forest just up the road, UCLA. I mean, pretty dang good schools. And abroad, Germany. So it's all coming down. Listen, I live near Charlotte. I'm on Lake Norman near Charlotte, North Carolina. And I got to tell you, I don't think it was last year. I think maybe the year before. I was just astounded. The murder rate, it's kids. It's 14-year-olds, 15. I mean, I was playing with dolls, you know. And but they have no concept of what life imprisonment. Nobody wins. Somebody just lost a child that was murdered, and the children, 13, 14 years old, their life is messed up too. We're paying for a system, and so that's why I'm so into prevention, and that's why Wings for Wishes Academy.org. I would like you all to visit it. That is where I am wiring people in the subconscious, because before the age of 7, we're pretty much in a meditative alpha state, not a beta state, where we are more receptive. So if I can get children, I don't care if their parents are screwed up, and I've kind of given up on a lot of parents, to tell you the truth. A lot of good ones, but a lot aren't doing their job. Otherwise, we wouldn't have kids killing kids. Where are you? And so, you know, if we are wiring them, the earlier the better. Before 5 is better than 7, but generally about up to 7. If I get that message with my program, especially I Believe I Can Fly, I get it into their minds and their hearts. They can have parents that are on crack and cocaine, and they could be the next president of the United States, and I know that. I absolutely do, because it's all about wiring ourselves. So for you who have passed the age of 7, it's a matter of undoing and redoing. And I should tell you, Peter, the book also has a workbook. So what's cool about it is for less than $50, for the people pay more than that for a T-shirt sometimes, you can have a whole system of thinking where you can reprogram yourself. And a lot of people, you know, therapists can be, coaches can be expensive, insurance may not cover. For less than $50, I have a system that will completely transform. And then I'm going to be adding, I think I mentioned in our last call, I lost my son a few weeks ago. Took a jump of joy out in Snake River, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And it was probably the happiest day of his life. He was so ecstatic. He jumps in, and the water's colder than his heart could handle. So the bottom line is, no one, I mean, I'm in my 83rd year of life, 82 years, and yeah, he was just a kid. And so we don't know, and the time to start is now. So I wanted to make it affordable for all, and so I'm going to do, the reason I brought that up is in September, I'm going to get a series of neural resets, and they're going to be like little exercises where I've paired up with a guy with his sound. I don't even have to do the induction. Close your eyes, get relaxed, pay attention to your breathing. I can skip all that. And so we can, in just short snippets, start rewiring people's minds. It's exciting. And in September, I'll have that done.
Well, that's really exciting. Now, when people want to buy this, I know they can go to edierather.com and they buy. Do they have options of the book only, or the book and the workshop?
Yeah, the book only. And then if they want to add, I don't know what it is, like $17, they can get the workbook. And then there will be 5 free audios included with the workbook. They're just not going to come till September because I'm unfortunately writing my son's eulogy. And I've given over 3,000 keynotes, and I've never had to do, I never want to do another son's eulogy. But this is probably the most important, it's the most important talk of my life. So I'm putting probably more than 40, 50 hours into it, Peter, but that's my choice. And so, you can buy just the book and the workbook, and then, like I said, 5 audios will be included. They will have to come a little later. And then there will be a whole series of audios available in September. And I want everybody to know all of the proceeds from Neuroshifts, the book, workbook, all of the, after my initial cost of the printing of the book and so forth, it all goes to Wings for Wishes. So when you help yourself, you're also going to change the life of a child, so that rather than being on drugs or in jail by age 14, they could be the next president of the United States. So it's a win-win, and that excites me. And the reason I had brought up the children is, they have no consciousness. And so what I'm talking about with the 3-second neuroshift, if we can get this into the hearts and minds, if you can help me, and you will, if you buy the book, you're going to help one child out there. But if we pause and pivot, that's what we have to do. Our behavior is pretty much on automatic. I mean, some of you might relate to this. I remember when I moved, I used to live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Algoma was my hometown, University of Wisconsin, go Badgers. But I remember when I moved to the Bay, every day after work, I'd find myself at my old house. Because for years, I had driven this way home, and now home was another route. So what it is, we have to create new neural pathways. And so we have to do that. It's like a garden. Before you plant the flowers, before you create the new neural pathways, you have to take the weeds out of the garden. You have to interrupt the old pathway. And so I speak a lot at conferences on addiction, and because every time you're going to pick up the drink, you're going to light up the cigarette, take a hit of cocaine, whatever it is, if in 3 seconds, 1.5 to 3 seconds, we can interrupt that with conscious choice, with a pause. And that's when we can pivot. We pause and then we pivot. It's almost like there aren't many stick shift cars. I used to like them. It just kind of engages you more. It's more fun. But when you shift from one gear to another, so what happens is in 3 seconds, when you pause, you have the opportunity to pivot, to shift, to change your thoughts, which is going to change your behavior. So we go from the subconscious, the limbic system, the instinctual brain, the emotional brain. We know many people, if you don't, I can help you with that and send you a draft. Because, Peter, I want to set up something where people can start sending in questions, okay?
Sure.
We'll set up a separate little website for that. And then I can use your questions, and I will answer it in the following show. But if you picture a triangle, on the bottom is basically the instinctual brain. That's fight, flight. That's insects, bugs, rodents, so forth. And then we have the emotional brain. That's your favorite pet, your kitty, your doggy. And it's emotional. We love them. We sometimes love them more than our partners because they have so much unconditional love. But emotional decisions, like Peter, we were just going to sign a contract. I come a lot from right brain people tend to be more in their emotional brain. And I make bad business decisions. So Peter's kind of overlooking them because he can shift to his left brain, which is more critical thinking. And so when we shift from the instinctual brain, the emotional brain, it's sometimes called mammalian brain, we go up into the neocortex, and that's the CEO of our being, the prefrontal lobes. And that's where we have critical thinking. I have a bumper sticker that says critical thinking, the other national deficit, because we don't have it. I mean, listen to the news. Drive in a major city. You really critical thinking? And so people are not shifting up to where they can make solid, good, not only business decisions, personal decisions, relationships. And if we shift the kid on the street, who unfortunately has access to a gun, God knows why, if we can get them to stop and shift, they make a better decision. You know, in my day, if there was an issue like that, they'd fight it out in the parking lot. Somebody might get a bleeding nose or, you know, a black eye, but they weren't dead. And that's what we have to do. The kids now, and people in general, have access where this kind of thinking, this impulsive thinking, it's Sandy Hook. It's the massive school shootings. They're so much more frequent. We're just numb to them now. They're not even making major news half the time. So that's why this is so important. It's interrupting the old pattern, giving the time to shift up to the high gear, the CEO, the wise mind, and making another choice. And it helps just even in your personal relationships. Sometimes I've seen people spend $400 an hour on a lawyer arguing over a salt and pepper shaker from the Dollar Tree. See, that's not critical thinking, but it's emotional. You're ticked off and you want to win. It's stupid. And so this is why that interruption is so crucial, Peter, to become conscious. It's all comes down to awareness. It comes to being aware that there is another option and a better option. And then we'll return to civility, because at my age, I got to tell you, I kind of would like to go back to the 50s. It wasn't all good, but I'll tell you, it was more civil.
That's for sure. Well, let's do this. We're going to take a quickie commercial break. You're listening to Edie Raether. We're talking about the 3-second Neuroshift. We'll be right back.
You've been listening to the Edie Raether Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network. Better thinking leads to better decisions, and better decisions create better performance. That is the foundation of Edie Raether's groundbreaking Neuroshift's trademark approach. As a behavioral strategist, best-selling author, and expert in the neuroscience of success, Edie helps people interrupt automatic thinking, replace unproductive patterns, and become the boss of their brain. Her newest book, The 3-Second Neuroshift, reveals how a small shift in thought can create meaningful changes in leadership, performance, resilience, relationships, and life. Discover Edie's books, programs, and speaking resources at ediraether.com. That's EDIERAETHER.com. You can also find the Edie Raether Radio Show on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other major podcast platforms. Now back to the Edie Raether Radio Show. Take it away, Peter.
And we're back. Peter Mingils here with Edie Raether. We're talking about the 3-Second Neuroshift book. You can buy the book and the workbook if you go to ediraether.com. That's EDIERAETHER.com. And if you want to hear this and the other radio shows that we've done, we can put this on, or actually we did put it on, buildingfortunesradio.com/Edie. That's buildingfortunesradio.com/EDIE. And we'll forward this to her techie gal, and they'll put it on the websites as well, so you'll be able to listen to this on ediraether.com too. So Edie, as I was thinking about this and our initial thing about, how to, can you give me an example, whether it's an example for you or someone else, or maybe something else that just happened, of of the application of the 3-second neuroshift. Meaning when they were going to do something, they pause, they hit that mental clutch like you had referenced a little bit earlier in reference to driving, kind of take that 1 to 3 second pause and then pivoted. So can you give us some examples?
You know what? And addictions come to mind, first of all. Okay. If you have a habit, how many of us, if the brownies are before us, we eat them. So don't buy them. Why would you, if you're an alcoholic, why would you take a job in a liquor store? So I think, one thing that'll make it easier to make that shift, Peter, is to create an environment that you don't have to be so challenged. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, so when you're shopping, go to the fruits and vegetables, buy a little yogurt, whatever, get some nuts, beans, and if they're not there, if they're not handy, it's going to change everything. But, I'll tell you, you know what, let me give you an example. I'm 82, I still ski, I'm very active, I swim every day, I live in and I'm pretty much the right size and weight. But I remember in college, well, if I was anxious, if I was celebrating, I'd eat. I do remember, I do keynote speaking, and, they always have, tons of donuts and stuff after the breakfast and that break. I just grab a bunch of them, you know what I mean? It's crazy. I haven't bought a donut in decades now. But I'm going to give an example. It's a personal one. I remember an internship. I started out as an occupational therapist. I had an internship in Colorado. And I remember eating a half gallon of ice cream. And they were big then. That was before the shrinking. And I couldn't believe it. I have a tablespoon now, and I feel full. So here, this is a good example, actually. But I was so active that I never really got, I really didn't get, I didn't look overweight or anything. But that's not the point. It's being out of control, Peter. I was not in control of my eating. And whenever you're out of control, that creates anxiety. It's not a good state. You want to be the center of your universe in that kind of sense. And then this is what happened, Peter. So I can tell you it works. So then I worked with Jean Houston, has taught me more than anybody back in the 70s. She just passed. And Mark Victor Hansen said she's the most brilliant person walking the earth. So thank you, God. Yeah, I had about 150 hours with her, and that has changed my life. But the bottom line was I started doing hypnosis. And when I was hypnotizing other people to change their eating habits, guess what happened, Peter? My brain isn't a brick. I got the message. And I don't use butter. I do a little syrup, but maybe a tablespoon for all of it. It's just everything is so. I have ice cream every night. I love it. I still love it. But I only have a tablespoon. That's all. And that's all I want. And this is what I'm trying to tell people, is that it's all about retraining your brain. I mean, if somebody put a bowl in front of me, it actually kind of would be disturbing. Because your body now has adapted. It has set a new reset point. See, there's a reset point in terms of body weight and so forth, but there's a reset point psychologically as well. And when I have too much sugar, I am so sensitive to my body feeling sluggish, and it's an ugly feeling, and you'll never want to go back. But you see, to make a permanent change, I had another guy here. I think I mentioned it last week. The pilot. We don't want a drunken pilot. One session, and he never had another drink again. So what it is, it's there again, what I do with the brain training, the hypnosis, neuroscience application, neuroplasticity, I don't care what you call it. But I reroute. And when you do things on the subconscious level, which is listen to this, it's 1,000,000 times more powerful. So it's like if I said I can go from North Carolina to California. I can walk, I can drive, or I can fly. I want to get the job done fast, so I'm going to fly. I'll get there in 4.5 hours. So once you start assessing and integrating and engaging the subconscious mind to make it's like an electrician. You go down and rewire at the source of the problem. But see, you have to stop, interrupt, and then choose. Conscious choice comes in where you choose a new behavior, a new decision, a new thought, and you create a new neural pathway. Now, once you do that repeatedly, like I only have a tablespoon of ice cream, but I put berries on it, so I call it a health food, is that once you do that, now the brain gets used to a new neural pathway, where the old one, like I said, having that much sugar, I grew up in Wisconsin. Those people, good bakery, they'll have 4 inches of frosting on a cupcake, and people eat it. Are you kidding me? That's yuck. But I did at one time. But see, now that you shift, then, and we can talk about this next time. This might be a good lead-in to next time. Let's do this, Peter. Let's talk about dopamine next time. And once you start reinforcing a new behavior, dopamine kicks in. See, people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical, and it is. It is a feel-good chemical, but it isn't just rewarding you. I mean, the 3 things that dopamine gets rewarded on the top of the list are sex. I have nothing to compare it to, so I'll prefer thrift shopping. And the other one is shopping. And the third one is, I don't know why chocolate chip cookies, but it's that. But dopamine rewards whatever is predictable. So once you shift your behavior, now, listen to this, Peter. Now we have an internal motivation drive that cements the new behavior in. Does that make sense? Because
sure does.
There is, and I'll leave with this note, and we'll pick up on it next time. There is only, I've been speaking at neuroscience and neurology and addiction conferences all over the world. And you know what? There's only one addiction, Peter. There's only one. It's dopamine. It's dopamine. See, so when you take a hit of crack, of cocaine, or meth, or whatever, a drug that you shouldn't be doing, if you do it repeatedly, what you're really addicted to is that good feeling that dopamine gives. It loves to be able to predict the next behavior. And so when it's repeated, and so whether it's a drug or eating too many chocolate chip cookies, I'll admit I'm a thrift shopper. I've got so many closets in my house I could run a shop. But I'm not hurting anybody. That's my excuse. But I'm changing. It's getting ridiculous. But it's that high. How many of you can relate to that? When you see a bargain, when you see an opportunity, to your light, it's not only your eyes get bigger, your brain lights up. And so that it almost becomes a compulsive behavior. So you tell me, exercise. I used to work with a lot of anorexics and bulimics. And some of the bulimics, they would exercise 3-4 hours a day. That is too much. It is. It really is. But you've heard of things like the runner's high. It's the dopamine. Now, is running good or exercise good? Yeah, but everything, in moderation, including moderation. But you see, it's not the addiction to the exercise. It's the dopamine that reinforces it. So everything we do in life, I speak a lot at corporate events for leadership, sales, and so forth, Peter. And if you want to motivate your staff, okay, let me just say a couple more things. Now you're getting me into. We're going to have fun next time because this is. I just get off on this.
This is your dopamine.
This is my dopamine. It is. That's why I love keynote speaking. I tell people it's better than sex. I just get so much of a rush in dopamine when I'm on a live stage. But the bottom line is that people don't understand motivation. I call myself a motivational speaker. I don't. Motivation is overrated. If I want to motivate you to do something or your kid to do something, it's kind of coercive in a way. It's kind of manipulating them to maybe do something they really don't want to do. But see, when we create alignment with who we are, with our beliefs, our identity, a dancer must dance, a singer must sing. People are self-motivated. It's internal. It's the inner drive. And dopamine is that engine that makes it so easy. I mean, I needed to, okay, I'm working till midnight. You know it, Peter. You get emails from me at midnight all the time. And my son that I lost, just a couple weeks before, I lost him. It was like, Mom, you've had a good run. Why don't you just take it, And I said, Tori, the stage is my home. And then he was okay. I don't want to play golf every day. God bless you, golfers. I would rather make a difference. That's who I am. Doesn't mean golfing every day is bad. It's just to thine own self be true. And when you're true to yourself, why you're on this earth, and we'll talk about that in a session too, the purpose, the meaning, the mission. You know what, honey? Peter, that's when we become unstoppable. And with that note, we'll pick up on dopamine next time. How do you like that for an ending, huh?
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect. So you'll learn this in the book. You want to buy the book, go to edierather.com, buy the 3-Second Neuroshift. It'll be the best investment in yourself and nothing when it comes to the money is concerned because it's so small and you'll use it for the rest of your life and you'll probably share it with other people as well. So go buy the book, get the workbook, and we'll be back next week with Edie Raether. Thanks, Edie. We're going to catch everybody next time.
Always fun, and bring your questions.
Thanks for tuning in. You've just finished listening to the Edie Raether Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network. We hope today's program challenged the way you think, gave you practical ideas you can use, and inspired you to create positive change in your work and life. Edie Raether has spent more than 5 decades helping people and organizations rewire old patterns, unlock greater potential, and turn insight into action. As a keynote speaker, best-selling author, behavioral strategist, and creator of Neuroshift, Edie is changing the way the world thinks, one mind at a time. Visit edierather.com. That's edierather.com to explore her books, speaking programs, training resources, and her newest book, The 3-Second Neuroshift. On behalf of Edie Raether, Peter Mingils, and everyone at Building Fortunes Radio and the Humongous Radio Network, thank you for listening. You can hear the Edie Raether Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio, Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other major podcast platforms. Until next time, remember, change your thinking, change your choices, and change your world.